Hi guys, this video is for the first block on my Introduction to Business course for third year degree English students. Okay guys, so I've told you in previous videos about the way we're going to work, and I've told you also about the range of things that we're going to be doing, which I have separated out into things called blocks. So what is the first of these blocks and what exactly we're going to be doing with it? Well, I've called it the essence of business, which is perhaps a misnomer, perhaps not the best title. Why? Well, because business is something to do with making money at the end of the day. If you don't, you're out of business. But also what I'm going to be talking about applies to organizations generally. Well, what is an organization? The university is an organization. The MDSA, the Malouse Council, and the smaller commune councils around it, which have banded together, they are an organization. They're not there to make money. They're there to fulfill government policy and to do what the electorate, me and you, we live here, we pay our taxes, we vote, to do pretty much what we want. And their job is to put those two things together. What about, let's say, Paris as a tourism destination? A resort, if you like. Well, Paris is also, in that sense, an organisation. It is trying to represent itself to a potential global market and to attract people to come to Paris, to create jobs, to generate income in Paris, which is spent and respent and spent and respent, such that people have jobs and we are the richer and the happier for it. Same goes obviously for a business. It's looking to sell its products and its services to people it considers to be its clients. And it's looking to design and develop those products and services for them. There's a problem with this. I'm sure you've noticed it. The problem is what I want as a citizen, as a customer, as the member of an association, what I want is always changing. So is how I want it. 25 years ago, I didn't want anything online. Well, largely because online didn't really exist in France until pretty much the year 2000. In the UK and the US rather earlier. Why? Because you had your own system here in France called Minitel. The point is, technology changes me. It changes what I want, the price I'm prepared to pay for it, where I will go and look for it, who I will buy from, how I want it delivered, how quickly I can get it. I could go on. But the point is, all of these things are changing all of the time. And they're changing me. I'm a customer. I'm a client. And I want things the way I want them, when I want them, where I want them, how I want them, at the price I want. I won't go on. But the point is, businesses and organizations are forever aiming at a moving target. The target is moving all over the place. The intention of business and organizations is to be in a happy union between themselves and the people they are there to serve, or whose needs they are there to serve. That's fine if everything is static and not moving, but everything is moving all the time. And I have to tell you that now the world is turning and moving faster than it ever has been, which is a lie because actually the Earth is turning slightly slower than it ever has been, but that's a scientific issue. The point is that we are changing quite quickly. For example, if you go back as far as 1986, 87, People who were trying to save the environment were thought of as being a bit strange, a bit weird, a bit too baba cool for me. Nutters, people who would go out in a ship trying to stop a nuclear test or something like that. We all thought of them as crazies. They never got on the front page. They never were really taken seriously. Now? Environment is coming to the top of everybody's list. Sometimes it's economy, sometimes it's environment. Okay, in Mr. Trump and his administration, it appears that the economy is here in priorities and environment has gone down here. Maybe things will be redressed, perhaps, after the next election. Who knows? You can write that chapter. The point is, if things are changing on the environment, technology, in society we're changing, we're more worried now about health, we're more concerned about terrorism, we're more concerned about issues like immigration, etc. Those things change all the time. And all the time we're changing. And all the time companies are trying to work out where we are, where we're going, and how they get there. What they're actually seeking is what you might well call a dynamic, because it moves, equilibrium, because it's stable. So companies are seeking to do this, and then wherever the market wants to take them, they will go. They're locked in. They know what people want. They measure how they are changing, and they constantly organize their resources, their efforts, their time, their personnel to give us what we need, when we need it, how we need it, at the price we want it, where we need it, even if those things are changing. Sorry about this. There is no calculator. There is no software program. There is no slide rule. You'll have to look that one up. You don't use them today, but they were kind of quick numerical calculators without any electronics behind it from my generation. There isn't a right way or a wrong way to do it. There are things that you can do that can increase the chances of you being closer to where your market is going. There are things that you can do or fail to do which will mean that your market is disappearing up here and you're somewhere off here. So what I want to do in this blog is to give you an idea of the essence of business, which I've described as this dynamic equilibrium. On my website, I will refer you to, via email, a number of pages that I've already written and models that either I've developed or exist because other people have developed them, which will give you a clearer idea of this. Essentially, on one side, you have things that are changing outside the business, outside the organization, in the real world, outside the walls of the business. You could call it steep or steeple. Social, socio-cultural things, things that change us, what we want, our values, what we believe, how we make our decisions, etc. Technology. Well, as I said, you've only got to look. You're seeing me online. That would not have been possible a few years ago even. Technology is changing what, when, where, how, etc. of consumption. The economy. Rich people are becoming richer. Poorer people are becoming poorer generally. And the middle class is not moving up to become richer. People are falling off the middle to become poorer. The economy is changing. We are changing with it. What I'm prepared to pay for things, where I'm prepared to go and shop, that's changing dramatically. I'll give you a case study on that later. The natural E, the natural environment. Well, as I said, that really didn't exist as a subject that people taught about. I started my career in teaching as a tourism management lecturer at Bournemouth University. And we were the first university in the UK, along with Newcastle, to have a course on environment and tourism development. Not just develop, but environment and the need to protect it. That was in 1987, 1988. Now environment is everywhere. Well, of course it is. But in terms of its importance and its significance, Mrs. Thatcher, very focused on the economy, but in 1987, she turned towards the environment because she realized all of a sudden people were interested and there were votes in it. It's become a serious issue. So social, technological, economic and environmental. And also after that, we've got political and regulatory environments. Well, the two are related because it's politicians voted by us who make decisions, who create laws, which eventually become laws, directives and regulations which companies must obey. So they're not really separate. They are very much together. Those are a little difficult for you to take on board at the moment, the political and regulatory side of things. But I am going to ask you to focus on the S, the T, the E and the E. So I'm going to ask you to split up actually into 4 teams: a socio-cultural team, a technology team, an economic team and an environmental team. And I want you to go out there and look at what's going on in our world under those headings and where trends are going for the future, the near future and the longer term future. As I said, companies are trying to work out where we and what we want are going so that they can get there. Unless organizations look at the social, the cultural, the technological, the economic, the natural environment, surroundings of their organization and their business, they are not going to know where people are going and they're not going to be able to organize their resources. So the first thing that I'm going to ask you to do is to split up into teams, 4 teams, as I've just said, and take one of those without duplicating another group's choice and go away and research it as widely as you can. Look at futurology websites. If you're on technology, look at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Look at projections for the future, for what's going to happen to our telephones, our computers in the future. That's what people have got to be preparing themselves for now. It takes time to change a company, an organization, its specialities, its expertise, its product portfolio, etc. That takes time. They have to start now. So I want to know for each of those things, what are the major things that are changing? That's relatively easy to find. Here's the more difficult bit, the bit I'm really interested in. What are the impacts of those things? An impact, something that hits something. An asteroid hits the Earth, creates a huge great hole, and 65 million years ago, the dinosaurs die in a nuclear winter. Excuse me. So that's the impact. But what are the implications of that? What are the consequences that run from that? When you look at some of these things that are changing, you should be able to say, If I were someone who owned an airline or had shareholdings in an airline, I'd be thinking twice about keeping them because this change is really going to hit airlines because da 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 da. So what are going to be the menace, as you would say? What are going to be the threats to people's existing businesses? What is the implication of these trends that are going to arrive and hit us in the very near future and the future to come? And also, maybe, what are the opportunities for existing businesses and maybe for new businesses to come into existence to serve a need that hasn't even been recognized yet? I'll do you a case study on that in a minute for you. So I'm looking for you to look at that environment that you've chosen. Social, technology, economic environment, natural environment. What are the changes? What are the impacts? What are the threats to existing businesses? And imagine, look at some existing businesses and say, and what are the opportunities for existing businesses and for new businesses? That's the first part of this first block. What we're then going to do is to look at all the ideas that come out of that. Where are the ideas for future business opportunities? And then we're going to go on and evaluate those, analyze and evaluate them and put them into an order of the ones that you think are going to be most likely to succeed in the future. And then I'm going to ask you in teams or pairs to pick one of those, the best of the best, and to develop those business ideas. But that will be for block 2. Block 1 is about researching the business environment. What are the impacts? What are the implications? What are the opportunities? And what are the threats? Okay, so that's where we're going with this. You can find a model on my website, which is called Blending the Business, which shows you that side, the external side of the business, and also this bit, the internal side of the business. Companies have capital, money in the bank, money they can spend, money from shareholders, money that they have borrowed, and they can use that to buy, to organize their resources, to produce what they need to produce to satisfy their market. They have assets. If you're an airline, you've got planes. If you're a cruise company, you've got ships. If you're a university, you've got classrooms. But you also have your reputation. You also have your brand. You also have your people. You also have their quality of training, etc., their experience as well. You have a lot of things that you can use. You can combine them to try and match these business opportunities and overcome the threats. So have a look at my Blending the Business model on Tonyversity on the L3 Intro to Business Block 1 resources page. Thank you very much.